Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Carol Buchanan, Director of Operations for Denver Regional Mobility and Access Council. Most people know us as DRMAC. If you are new to DRMAC, check out our website for information about the great work we are doing, including information about metro area transportation options. Please type your name and organization in the chat box so we can have a record of who is here. I will be managing our Zoom meeting today, and Kate will be checking the chat box regularly. Please use the chat box as needed for questions or comments, and we will respond to those during the Q&A portion of our time together. You can also use the raise your hand function, but again, we'll be responding to that during the Q&A portion of our time. Attendees will be muted unless called upon. Now we want to take just a few minutes to see who is here, so our presenters will know who is in the room. We don't have time for announcements or anything like that, but if you could just quickly say your name and your organization if you're representing one, and I'll just call on you. Larry.
This is Larry Buda with RTD Access-Ride. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you today.
Katrina Harms.
Katrina Harms, I'm the administrator for the Peak to Peak Housing and Human Services Alliance in Western Boulder County.
Jean.
Jean Greenberg, and I'm field supervisor for social workers at Denver University School of Social Work.
Paula.
Hi, I'm Paula Moore, and I'm chair of the Voter Services Committee for League of Women Voters of Arapahoe Douglas Counties.
Audra.
Hi, I'm the clinical social worker with the oncology unit at Lutheran Medical Center.
Patrick.
Hi, I'm Patrick Kavanaugh. I'm an intern at DRMAC and a student in the Master's of Social Work program at DU.
Bill.
Hello, I'm Bill Toll. I'm the mobility manager of All Points Transit in Montrose County.
Brian.
And says he's not sure if his microphone or his camera are working.
Hi,
but he is
Brian from, oh, sorry.
He's
Hi,
with
Brian. Yeah, to the rescue. Richard.
Richard Blubaugh, member of the Senior Commission in City of Centennial, and vice president or vice chair for Transportation Solutions, Arapahoe County.
Claire.
Hi, I'm Claire. I'm an occupational therapy student at Craig Hospital.
Dan.
Thanks, Carol. Hi, everybody. I'm Dan Pearson, Regional Market Director with Dispatch Health.
Debbie.
Hi, I'm the Corporate Responsibility Officer for KeyBank.
Diego.
Got to the mute button there. Thank you. Executive Director of Northern Colorado Clean Cities and also Recharge Coach under the Recharge Colorado program, which is underneath the Governor's Office or the Colorado Energy Office.
Doug.
Doug Malcolm from Cultivate, a nonprofit providing services to seniors.
And Jamie.
I'm Jamie Anderson. I'm the program director at Denver Food Rescue.
Jan. Jan Harris. Okay. Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer Varnack. I am an outreach care specialist for Colorado Community Health Alliance in regions Ray 6 and 7, which is the Springs all the way up into Boulder.
Kate Williams.
Hi, I'm Kate Williams. I am the executive director of the Denver Regional Mobility and Access Council.
Katie.
Hi, I'm Katie Tofty. I work at Louisville Senior Services as a community resource coordinator.
And Michael? Moe?
I just need to check your mute.
Shirley?
Hi, everybody. I'm Shirley Propey with Audio Information Network of Colorado. I also co-chair the Senior Circle Aurora Health Alliance.
And Stephanie?
Hi, my name is Stephanie. I'm a projects coordinator at Denver Regional Mobility and Access Council.
Tanya?
Hi, I'm Tanya Mathias, Program Director for Little Help.
Whitney?
Hi, I'm a program coordinator for the City of Boulder Older Adult Services.
And Zoe?
Hi everyone, I'm Zoe. I am the Development and Partnerships Manager at VIA. Looking forward to presenting.
Kate, did you see anybody that I missed or?
I did not, but anybody whose name didn't get called, feel free to jump up right now.
Hi, this is Maura Moon from Division of Transit and Rail at CDOT, and apologies to whoever I just interrupted.
That was Roberto.
And
Roberto Rey, I might have stepped away when you called on me earlier. I'm with the AARP, and I'm also a member of the DRMAC board.
All right, thank you. All right, and now I'm going to turn it over to Patrick.
All right. Hi, everyone. You can go to the next slide, Carol, too. Thank you. So just a little overview of, social determinants of health and kind of why we're putting on this virtual resource fair. And so social determinants of health are the economic and social conditions that influence individual and group differences in health status. Healthcare, housing, education, food security, employment, and transportation are some examples of social determinants of health, and transportation has a particularly significant impact. So each year, 3.6 million people in the United States cannot obtain medical care due to transportation issues, which can include the lack of a vehicle, inadequate sidewalks, inaccessible bus stops, language barriers, costs, complicated transit systems, and not knowing what resources are available. Additionally, transportation can be a vehicle for wellness. It can connect people to activities that keep us healthy and vital, like fitness classes at the rec center, visits with friends, grocery shopping, and trips to the library. The lack of transportation eliminates access to many important services like these. So COVID has highlighted how transportation is a connector to other services that are social determinants of health. Like many businesses and programs, transportation providers had to stop providing services or cut back services because it was not safe for drivers or riders. Fortunately, some providers of transportation and providers of other critical services recognized the need to think about transportation in a different way. They stepped up what they were doing to be the connector or bridge during this unprecedented time. Today, we are hosting some of those programs that provided and continue to provide these unique services. So, as far as reverse services go, which we'll be focusing on today, since the beginning of the global pandemic, reverse services have become more widely needed, used, and altered in order to serve people who need them. A reverse service is any service or good that comes to you at your home rather than you needing to leave your home to access it. For example, a grocery store delivery service where you order your food and have it delivered to your house would be a reverse service. Prior to the pandemic, we saw these services emerging to help people who had obstacles to leaving their house to purchase goods, or for those who wanted to allocate time to other areas of their lives. Now it is also seen as a way to protect people from potential sickness that they could contract from being exposed to others. Reverse services are a great way to help serve different people's needs, whether it be safety or just convenience. And so today we'll have 4 guests who will be presenting on this topic, and they will each have an opportunity to share. And then after everyone's presentations, we'll have a little question and answer session. So I'm going to turn it over to Dan Pearson from Dispatch Health.
Can I just jump in before Dan starts? I have put in the chat box a survey that we are going to collect. That would be great if you all at the end of the program would take a look and complete it so that we can collect some information on how well we did. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Patrick and Kate, and hi, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be with you all today at DRMAC's Resource Fair. I'm Dan Pearson, and I am a Regional Market Director with Dispatch Health in Denver. And I always like checking in with the audience before I get started. Would it be possible to just, whether it's in the chat box or just to chime in, have folks heard of Dispatch Health on this call?
I have, yeah.
Thanks, Shirley. Okay, well, great. It sounds like at least one person, but so today I'll cover what Dispatch Health is, what we treat. Spoiler alert there, we treat basically everything in urgent care can treat and most things in ER can treat. I'll talk about how it works to activate care for patients and whether or not we accept insurance. And again, the spoiler alert there is yes, we do. So Patrick or Carol, can we go to the next slide, please?
Dan, you got a bunch of yeses in the chat box, by the way.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Thank you. Great, and we can move on to the next slide as well. So this is a picture of one of our actual teams, as well as one of our rovers and even the medical kits that we use. So when you activate care, we come to your home, but we don't have the dramatic sirens or flashing lights of an ambulance. And we're very clearly marked as healthcare providers, so you'll know. And Dispatch Health provides at-home urgent care and ER care services. We are led by ER doctors who for decades saw that experience firsthand that I'm sure a lot of folks on this call can relate to. It often starts with a pretty unpleasant ambulance ride to the ER, and then an extended time in the waiting room, usually 2 or 3 hours, is not uncommon, and something we're even more mindful of today with the infection risk of the pandemic. Then usually it's a very quick appointment with the provider, about 8 or 9 minutes. And at the end, there's usually a very large bill. And the kicker is a lot of the patients that go to the ER don't actually need to be there. It'd be possible for them to get treated safely and much more pleasantly and much more cost effectively elsewhere. And then that would open up the ER for those really critical cases that needed it. And so the ER doctors actually did a pilot program with the fire department and started going on 911 medical calls to see what percentage of those 911 calls would they actually be able to treat at the patient's home if they brought the right equipment in their vehicles. And they found that the vast majority of those cases could actually be treated at home as long as the equipment was in the vehicles. So with that, we created Dispatch Health in 2015 in Denver. And in recent years, we're growing very quickly across the country. We're in about 30 cities today, and you'll continue to see us grow very quickly in the coming years to provide this access, provide this service to more folks. Next slide, please. So I'll just quickly touch on a story that we're all probably familiar with, and that's the US healthcare system is broken, and this is just one small step in trying to fix it. You know, there's some really big numbers that we sometimes hear, like $4 billion, which could potentially be avoided from a senior living admissions cost. But I think when I look at this slide, I really think about it in terms of the patient, in terms of that bounce back. So when a patient goes to the ER, there's a 20% chance that within 30 days, they're going to go back to the ER for the same visit. When they go to the hospital, same thing, there's a 25% chance that they're going to bounce back from that. And, I talked about folks going to the ER who don't necessarily need to be there. You can see that the data point is actually 40% of the folks who go to the ER could safely be treated elsewhere. So these are just a few of the reference points that our ER doctors were living that led to the creation of our company. And so we can go to the next slide, please. Dispatch Health treats patients 3 months and older, and we specialize in seniors. You can see here our average age is 65 years and older. I think there's a few things that make us a really effective resource for seniors. One is we have a really quality appointment time. So instead of that, usually when I'm in presentations and I ask folks how long they typically see their PCP for when they go to the primary care clinic, and usually I hear maybe 15 or 20 minutes. And as you can see here, we actually average about 50 minutes with our patients. We want to really make sure they're comfortable. And a lot of times patients are a lot more open to talking when they're at their breakfast table or on their couch, as opposed to when they're in exam room. And so we'll go through the social determinants of health, food, transportation risks. We'll go through medication reviews. And as you can see here, a lot of our patients have complex conditions. And I'll talk about that more in a minute, but really, again, we see plenty of young professionals and families and kiddos 3 months and older, and we really take care of a lot of seniors. Next slide, please. Here's just a few examples of when folks would want to use Dispatch Health. So sometimes they want to go to the doctor, but they can't get in that day. One thing I'll talk about in a minute is our hours. We are open every day of the year from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And that includes nights, weekends, and holidays. So sometimes when folks try to, they're not feeling well and they try to go see their doctor, but they can't. So then they'll go into the ER. We're an alternative for that. Certainly patients who have difficulty leaving the home or there's transportation issues. Memory care is another one that can be really disruptive when a memory care patient is pulled from their community to go to the ER. And those unnecessary ER visits are really something we want to avoid. And we're a really great resource for patients who just kind of regularly go to the ER just by default because they don't know of a better option. These are all examples of when Dispatch Health might be a good solution. Next slide, please. So here's how it works. There's 3 ways to access care. You can access care by calling us, and I'll provide that number in a minute. You can also access care on our website, dispatchhealth.com, or our app, the Dispatch Health mobile app. And when you request care, you'll be connected with one of our care ambassadors who's trained by our ER doctors to go through the chief complaint and make sure it's an appropriate chief complaint clinically for us to see. If it's something that's very, very time sensitive, like stroke symptoms, heart attack symptoms, we will refer those to the emergency department. Those really do need to go to the ER because we arrive quickly, and I'll talk about this in a minute, typically in about 2 or 3 hours, but those really time sensitive chief complaints shouldn't wait. And then on the other hand, more like primary care or getting a physical, those also are not things that we would take care of, but really everything in between, and I've got a list here in a minute, everything an urgent care can do and most things an ER can do is what we would come out to take care of patients for. And one thing I would note is one of the most popular parts about Dispatch Health is it's all on demand. There's no contract, there's no paperwork. Simply call us when you need us, and you can call us for yourself, or you can certainly call us for a patient. And at the end of the call, we would just reach out to that patient or the patient's medical power of attorney to gain consent. And so as mentioned, we arrive in about 2 or 3 hours to the patient's home. So there's no need to transport to the clinic or the hospital. And there's also not the infection risk. At the end of the appointment, our providers will actually call in any prescriptions that the patient might need. And we'll also follow up with the primary care provider. We know that primary care provider is really the quarterback of the patient's care. We're really there for those episodic acute needs. And then we always give those clinical notes to the primary care provider. And we bill as urgent care. So we accept insurance, we bill as urgent care. So the cost would be the same as if they went to the urgent care clinic down the street. And again, we're available from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Every single day of the year, including weekends and holidays. So we can go to the next slide, please. So here is a list of some of the chief complaints that we treat on the right-hand side. I think the easiest way to think about it, again, is everything an urgent care can treat. If somebody has something that you think they would need to go to urgent care for, it's something we can take care of. And most things that an ER can take care of as well. So you'll see we commonly treat things like flus. If there is a fall, we're not able to do the lifting. That would need to be through EMS, but we can certainly do the assessment afterwards. Eye injuries, cardiology needs, such as congestive heart failure, dermatology, such as stitches, lacerations, boils, urinary tract infections are a big reason why seniors go to the ER unnecessarily, and we can certainly take care of those. And we can actually run the first dose antibiotic while on scene as well to help get a head start to healing. Musculoskeletal, such as strains or sprains, digestive, vomiting, constipation, neurological, our team carries a migraine cocktail, respiratory, such as COPD exacerbation and pneumonia, ear, nose, and throat, we can pack a nosebleed, among other things. And our team also carries an EKG, and we can run IVs on scene, including those IV prescriptions that I mentioned. I think this photo is also helpful because it just shows some of the PPE that we wear. We always want to make sure that we're keeping our patients and our team safe. So we'll always wear appropriate PPE. And, I get asked the question, how can we treat all of these things? You'll see another kit here in the bottom right of the photo. And in that initial photo that I showed with the SUV, that's filled with those kits. So depending what the need is, our providers will bring in the appropriate clinical kit. And we always come out in a team of 2. So there'll be a board certified nurse practitioner or physician assistant as our provider, along with a dispatch health medical technician. And in addition to that, we always have a virtual ER doctor available on the phone in case any questions come up. We can go to the next slide, please. So I know there's a lot of great agencies at the conference here today. And so, we, in addition to taking great care of patients, we also want to take great care of you. We don't take your trust lightly when you refer us for your patients. And so I think a couple of things I would highlight from this slide here is we have very high patient satisfaction scores. So we use the NPS metric, or Net Promoter Score, which basically is, after that experience, asking somebody to rate their experience, or if they would refer to it as a friend, refer to a friend. To put this in context, in most hospitals, the NPS score is about 30. And that's because some of those things we talked about, the long wait times, kind of the sterile environment, the travel to and from, all of those things are avoided. And so, being able to, whether it's a kiddo who's watching Netflix on their couch, or it's a senior who's just a lot more comfortable at their breakfast table, not having to go anywhere, us coming to the patient and then averaging about 50 minutes during that visit makes patients very happy with our care. Really, another benefit of our partners is it reduces that disruption of unnecessary ER visits. Again, whether it's a memory care patient or really any of us, it can really be a disruption when folks go to the ER or go to the hospital unnecessarily. So again, we want to be a great partner for you and reflect really well on any patients that you would refer to us. Next slide, please. And so this is just a screenshot of our service area in Denver. You can see we cover the Denver metro and beyond. On our website, there is a map that's updated in real time. We're continuously adding zip codes. So dispatchhealth.com, you'll be able to go to the Denver designated webpage within our dispatchhealth.com website. A lot of people like to save the phone number during these presentations because we hope you never need us. But when you do, it's easier. It's usually easiest if you have the phone number saved. And again, we also have that mobile app that you can download so that if and when you or a friend or a family member or a patient needs us, you'll have that information at your fingertips. And so With that, I want to be respectful of time. And again, thank you, Patrick and Dr. Mack, for inviting me and Dispatch Health to be here, and happy to take questions now if we have time for it, or certainly we can wait to the end. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Dan. I think we're going to wait till the end and then do all the questions then. All right.
Sounds good.
And then next we have Larry Buter from RTD's Accessoride.
Thank you, Patrick. Again, pleasure to be here with all of you. I guess I should start by saying that Accessoride is not a healthcare transportation service. And to be honest, I'm okay with that, because I would much rather transport people to a restaurant or to a ball game. But obviously, you could certainly use Accessoride to travel to your medical appointments. So about a year ago, as soon as COVID hit us, and we all started losing clientele. I think with Accessoride, we lost over 50% to 70% of our passengers as a result of what was going on. We started thinking about reverse services. And as much as we wanted to think outside the box, and we would have loved the idea of being able to deliver dialysis treatments to people, right? I mean, that just wasn't something that we were going to be able to do. So we came up with the concept of transporting food for people instead of having people go to King Soopers or Safeway or their local grocery stores. We took it upon ourselves to offer that service for them. So for about a year now, and I think we're up to past 1,000 food deliveries, we will now gladly go to a store, pick up a person's ordered items and deliver it free of charge. And to be honest, we have no intentions of stopping the delivery of free grocery food items once COVID is clearly behind us. It helps our passengers, and the reality is it's also a cost savings. Instead of someone traveling a two-legged trip, it's just a one-leg trip now. The operator goes to the store and then makes the delivery. So it's a win-win for everyone. Again, as much as we wanted to provide more reverse services, reality is a lot of people simply did not have the option of saying, yeah, I think I'm going to stop taking Accessoride during COVID. Folks that had to continue going for their dialysis treatments, their medical appointments, even work. Again, we maintained on average about 50% of our clientele. And as we slowly maneuver ourselves out of the mess that we're in called COVID, we're slowly but surely beginning to see an increase in the number of passengers per day. So with that, I think what I'd like to do with the remainder of my time, at least, is to offer a glimpse as far as what Accessoride is for those of you that don't know. So Patrick, if we can go to the next slide, I'd appreciate it. And what we'll do, I won't get into reading all of the slides. I'll save you that, but I would like to point out some high points of each slide. You know, at the end of the day, the Accessoride program is in compliance with the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act. We are here to provide alternative services for people who cannot use a regular bus for a variety of issues. The ADA didn't just deal with transportation, but it also looked at employment, telecommunication, public accommodations, and so on. Next slide, please. So what we strive to do is, as much as we can, is make sure that Accessoride is comparable to the same levels of services on fixed route. And what that simply means is that depending on where a person lives, and depending on what type of RTD services they receive around that area, that'll be the same type of service that you'll have or they'll have on Accessoride. So for example, if you live in certain parts of Aurora where there's hardly any service on Sunday, you would not be able to use Accessoride services on Sunday. Not only does that apply to the days that fixed route operates, but also to the times. So again, depending on what time bus services start near your home, those will be the same times for the beginning and ending of that day. Next slide, please. So ADA is not based on a disability, but rather a functional inability for a person to use our regular bus system. And what that basically means is we don't accept prescriptions from doctors. This isn't about, you know, my patient is sick, therefore needs Access-a-Ride. But the reality is we're all different and we all handle ourselves differently and circumstances of our lives. And a person with one particular type of disability or illness handles themselves different than everyone else. And we would never put a blanket statement out suggesting everyone who has a X going on absolutely will receive Access-a-Ride services. So it's really based on a functional ability. And with that, we have a functional test that people go through currently through our East to Seals contract, which is our eligibility process. Next slide, please. So in the past, there were 3 criteria used to determine whether or not a person could use a bus and qualified for paratransit. Anymore, there's only 2. The third one being available when buses weren't 100% accessible. And as most of you know, if not the whole country, almost the entire country, certainly the case here in Denver, where all of our buses and light rail vehicles are 100% accessible to everyone, courtesy of the lift. So the 2 remaining are whether or not a person with a disability can navigate to a bus stop, and whether once there they could actually get on, I'm sorry, the last one is if they're able to get on a bus, whether or not they could navigate on them themselves without getting lost. So those are the 2 criteria that we focus on when someone goes through the eligibility process. Next slide, please. So I think I'm going to skip this just for the sake of time. So next slide, please. So once a person becomes eligible for services, there are a number of different types of services that we give depending on a person's disability and abilities of using our buses. A person can either be found unrestricted, which means for up to 4 years, they're entitled to use Access-a-Ride for any and all of their trips. Oftentimes we'll offer conditional services, and the conditions as listed range from a variety, including temperature, dawn to dusk to dawn, episodic, snow, rain, chronic fatigue, and architectural barrier. Once a person goes through our assessment at least 3 times, they're entitled to receive a lifetime sticker, which basically means they won't have to apply for services thereafter, but we will check up on them periodically just to make sure that they're still using the service, that their address didn't change, and that nothing has changed that would require an eligibility. Next slide, please. So for those of you that don't know, while Access-a-Ride is not directly operated through RTD, we do have a variety of contractors that actually perform the service, and we provide the service in a variety of different vehicles. Used to be a day when we concentrated Access-a-Ride solely with the provision of services in our big boxes, our cutaways that you would see coming down the street. Anymore, there are a variety of different vehicles, including smaller vans, taxi cabs, even Ubers in the middle of the mix right now. Next slide, please. So we contract, as I mentioned earlier, with East to Seals of Colorado. They do our eligibility certification. First Transit operates our call center. They're responsible for taking all reservations, they schedule the trips, and they dispatch the trips out. We contract with 3 companies to do most of the service. They're called MB Transportation, Transdev, and Via Mobility. Transdev is actually broken in 2. We have a service where they operate RTD-owned vehicles, but they also work with Yellow Cab, which they own, to provide non-dedicated but paratransit services. We also have agreements with Metro Taxi to provide our Access-a-Cab service. Next slide, please. So currently we have, well, unfortunately we lost one, so 342 RTD owned vehicles. We do have 50 cabs. We operate in the service mile area of 2,300, which is unusual for transportation. We have one of the largest we have one of the largest, and I lost the screen. Yeah, there we go. We have one of the largest service areas in the country, which makes providing paratransit a bit challenging. Excuse me, I'm having problems with my phone here. Here we go. These are just some numbers representing the type of service we put out on the road. These numbers represent, I believe it's 2019, almost 600,000 revenue hours with nearly 10 million revenue miles. We provided approximately 725,000 passenger trips in 2019. And you can see from our annual budget that it's quite expensive to provide accessorized services. Next slide, please. My staff and I, as I mentioned earlier, while we don't provide the service ourselves, we do a lot of service monitoring of our contractors to make sure that they're compliant in terms of the contract, treating our customers well. And these are just items of various pieces of functions that we do on a daily basis. We obviously work with our customers in terms of complaints and commendations. We make sure that our on-time performance is per requirements. We look at excessive ride time, scheduling, vehicle maintenance is huge, and we also do field inspections. Next slide, please. Regarding our vehicle maintenance, not only do we have RTD personnel inspecting our vehicles on a weekly basis, but we also contract with a third party. They come here quarterly, they review our vehicles, and they want to make sure that our contractors are following the specs per the vehicle manufacturer as well as RTD requirements. Next slide, please. Field inspections, and I'll be honest, as a result of COVID, we tend to do these anymore via in the office through our video monitoring. But prior to COVID, we were on the streets, all of us, observing drivers. Sometimes they knew we were there, sometimes not. The idea is just to make sure that drivers are treating our passengers the way we want them to, and that is with care. Next slide, please. So mobility enhancements, we've been working quite a bit lately in terms of enhancing the Accessoride program. One of the key features, and I'm happy to report that today, this morning, we actually released the second phase of our Uber pilots. Right now, Uber and RTD are working on a pilot to provide Accessoride passengers with Uber service, and it's actually broken out in two phases. The first one that started about 5 months ago was for passengers who were ambulatory and capable of going into a car. And those vehicles were the Uber vehicles. Today, we started the WAVE program. WAVE stands for Wheelchair Available Vehicle, whereby Uber and one of our contractors, MV Transportation, now work together so that when a passenger schedules an Uber trip but requests a wheelchair vehicle, they now contract with MV Transportation, again, one of our Accessoride providers, and they're using an RTD-owned vehicle to provide the service. So that's a whole lot of coordination going on. You've got a passenger, well, you've got Uber using their application, and you're using an Accessoride vehicle through an MV operator. So there's a lot of coordination there, but I mentioned that we started that this morning at 6, and we're hoping that that will take off. It's really complementary to our Accessa Cab service. We're not suggesting that this is a paratransit and will replace Accessoride, but this is to enhance our Accessa Cab service, which is a same-day request. A person calls up today, wants a cab, and we will subsidize $12 of the Accessa Cab trip. The difference with the Uber is you're calling today. Well, you're not even calling anymore. You're using your app or your computer to schedule an Uber trip, and RTD is subsidizing up to $20 of that trip. So we're very excited about the Uber relationship because people have been asking that for years, and we're finally there. Next slide, please. Future improvements. We're definitely in the process now of reviewing, our scheduling software. We're in the process of replacing that software. The current one that we've had is about 13 years old, and I think it's time to see what else is out there. We're expanding on non-dedicated vehicle providers for the Access-a-Ride service, and we're encouraging more taxi cabs and on-demand companies, as I just mentioned, Uber, to expand their fleets in terms of making sure that it's accessible. While it's a great concept to be able to lean on Access-a-Ride to provide the accessible portion of that, sooner or later, these companies need to become accessible themselves. Next slide, please. Current challenges. Well, prior to COVID, high turnover rate was absolutely our #1 challenge. It seemed that after the state of Colorado decided to make marijuana legal, obviously we had an issue hiring operators because we do in fact drug test. It is a federal requirement, and as a result, we lost some operators. The regional low unemployment rate in Colorado was such that we were in competition with a lot of different companies. I'll be honest, prior to COVID, we were so close to having a full complement of operators. And then all of a sudden COVID hit, and we have all the operators we can handle at this point. But to be honest, that's going to change, right? We're going to get back to business, and we're probably going to be once again in a position of having a hard time finding employees. And that's for, I think, every transportation industry, especially here in Colorado. Fixed route and light rail was experiencing it, and a lot of my friends around the country who are in transportation was encountering it as well. Next slide, please.
I think that's it, Larry.
Oh, that's okay. That is my last slide then. And I too will be around later on, and will be more than happy to field any questions anyone may have. Thank you again for the opportunity.
All right, thank you so much, Larry. And next we have Jamie Anderson from Denver Food Rescue.
Thanks, Patrick, for putting this together. You can go to the first slide. So yeah, I am going to talk to you guys a little bit about what Denver Food Rescue does and how transportation is a huge barrier for a lot of the people that we serve, and some of the ways that we tried to overcome that during COVID. Next slide. So first, I'll tell you who we are, and you can go on to the next slide, actually. So Denver Food Rescue, in case you don't know about us, very briefly, we're a small nonprofit. We have under 10 employees. I think we have 7 full-time employees, and a pool of about 150 active volunteers. Right now, we just had our very first program outside the city limits of Denver. It's on East Colfax and Aurora, but for the most part, we are located just in the Denver metro area. But as you guys know, that's a pretty big geographical spread. So what we have are these no-cost grocery programs, or NCGPs, as we call them. And they are community-led fresh food distributions. They're usually weekly, though a few of them are a couple days a week. And our role in this, Denver Food Rescue's role, is that we link a food donor, usually a grocery store, sometimes like a wholesaler, or we also have like some prepared meal things like a university cafeteria. So we link that food donor to a community that wants to give fresh food out. And the food we give out is around 80% fresh produce. Everything else is like dairy, bakery, and Sorry, I got distracted by the slide changing.
Sorry.
No, don't worry about it at all. So like 80% fresh produce, basically. We don't give out things like dry goods. And our communities, we have about 20 right now. You can see where they're all located on the map there. And they are the ones who distribute the food. So what we do is have that relationship with the food donor. Our volunteers pick up the food from the food donor, take it to the community, and then the community distributes it themselves. So you can go to the next slide. So like I said, they happen in different communities and you can click through. We have 8 schools. Keep clicking. You can just click all of them at once. Thank you. We have 2 Denver health clinics, 2 boys and girls clubs, 6 community centers, 2 local farms, and then 2 affordable housing units for seniors and adults with disabilities. So the reason why they're in those communities, and now you can go to the next slide, is because of this concept of food apartheid. So when I first got hired at Denver Food Rescue, in my interview, I mentioned food deserts. And one of my coworkers corrected me and she said, a desert is a place that is a natural place that actually has a lot of life and beauty. We should think about what's happening in cities as actually a food apartheid because it is a choice that people made about where to locate healthy food sources like grocery stores. So you can go to the next slide. So this is a map of Denver food systems. Red dots are the supermarkets. Purple shaded areas are ones that have limited food access. You can see the purple shade, I believe, is like within, you don't have a source of fresh food or a source of a supermarket within a mile. So it's pretty tough to walk there. You can go to the next one. And then also considering access to food and transportation. Sorry, this is probably a little tough to see if you have a small screen, but the darker the area on the map, then that is an area that is both experiencing food apartheid and also has barriers to transportation. For example, people don't have a vehicle, like the percentage of households with no vehicle available to them is greater than the Denver average. And then the percentage of residents that are low to moderate income is greater than 51%. So you can again see like where on the map of Denver, and I'm sure this is no surprise to you, transportation and low food access is a problem. Next slide. So you can see our map of where our no-cost grocery programs are roughly fits that theme of kind of being that western side of the city and the northern side of the city. And I should point out that we don't choose where our no-cost grocery programs are. The communities come to us and ask, and then we start one with them. And so that's people recognizing that they have a problem and looking for, you know, any solution to it to feed their community. So you can go to the next slide. So when COVID-19 happened, one of the first things that happened is obviously a lot of people lost their jobs, as you all know, and we saw the usage of our no-cost grocery programs explode. Let me just check the number real fast because it is a very high number. So we had 4,800 visits, unique visits to our no-cost grocery programs in Q1 of March or of 2020, ending in March 31st. So right around when the pandemic started. And then in Q2, we had 7,096 unique visits. So obviously like a huge jump. And that number continues to rise, though not as dramatically, for Q3 and Q4 of 2020. And we're still seeing a really elevated need in Q1 of 2021. And then going alongside that, this new increase in need for free food resources was the fact that a lot of people didn't feel safe using public transit. So we were fielding phone calls from people all the time asking us, can you get food to us? Like, we don't feel safe using public transit to get to where food is. Is there anything you can do? So you can go to the next slide. So we had a few different responses to it. You can hit the next button. So we did some small changes. One of the things is that rather than giving people a box, which they would then often carry on public transit home full of food, we got reusable bags, so it was easier to carry. Just a really small change there, but it made a difference and a lot of people had requested it. Go to the next one. Another thing that we did is a lot of our programs established either a text or a WhatsApp group, so they could prevent people from like waiting in a line where they might be at more risk of infection, or prevent them from like sitting in a car using gas to idle waiting to collect their food. So we had more of a like, you can come get it right now. And like, I know some of our programs even had it scheduled out so that people wouldn't have to sit in their car waiting. Go to the next one. So then we had some bigger things that we did. So the first one is, I believe, if you hit, yep, some of our partners switched to being delivery only. So one of those is the Grow House, which is located in Park Hill. They switched to going from serving like 75 families per week in an in-person no cost grocery program. They now serve around 400 families a week in a delivery only model just for that zip code of, I think it's Northeast Park Hill. So they utilize their volunteer base to get the food out to families in the area that they felt they had the capacity to do that. And they had to cap it at 400 because that was just the capacity that they had. You can click to the next one. So another thing that we did is we connected with several other kind of food rescue type groups and farming groups in the Denver area to form the Denver Metro Emergency Food Network. And one of the things that we did through that was delivery of food to people's homes using electric vehicles. You can skip to the next one. And then the next thing that we did, which is still ongoing and which I can tell you guys how to sign up for if anyone has interest, was the Colorado Food Cluster, which we did in partnership with Bondadosa and a few other groups. It is to deliver meals to school-age kids who would normally be receiving free or reduced meals at Denver Public Schools. Now they get food delivered to their homes. So they get a box of 5 meals for the entire week. I think it also comes with some fresh fruit and milk. And people can still sign up for that. They don't have to be a DPS student. So if you know of anyone who has interest in that, I can give you the sign up link. Okay, you can go to the next one. And then we also, on October 30th, we pulled together our volunteers and we did our own delivery program, just because with all those things that I mentioned, we were still getting multiple calls a day to our office of people asking us if we could deliver food to them. And, you know, obviously with such a small staff, it wasn't something we could do all the time, but we decided, let's do it for Halloween. We were able to get 103 boxes of fresh, healthy food. We got 10 volunteers and then also all of our staff members, and we delivered them throughout the metro area that day. And it was very successful, but it was also very time consuming and not something we have the capacity to do all the time. So you can flip to the next one. Yeah, that's it. Just wanted to talk a little bit about our response to those transportation barriers that the people who use our programs face, and happy to answer any questions after the last presenter speaks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jamie. And we're running pretty much perfectly on time, so we should have time for questions at the end. So our final presenter today is going to be Zoe DeVito from VIA Mobility Services.
Thank you, Patrick. Hi, everybody. Welcome to VIA's presentation portion. Please put us over to the next slide. Yes, we are your community transit provider. And go on ahead to the next slide. Thanks. Okay, everybody. So VIA, we are not only a transit provider, we're a nonprofit, and our mission is very specific. We're here to help promote independence and self-sufficiency for people with limited mobility. Whether you don't drive because of choice or because it's not accessible to you, that's something that we're here to help with. Please go to the next slide. We have quite a few different services, but our top three are our transportation, which we call VIA Paratransit, travel training, and our mobility options, or INR, which stands for information and referral. Go on to the next one. Thanks. So VIA Transportation is a door-to-door driver-assisted service. We have drug-tested, specially trained drivers who not only will they help you go from door to door, but if you request it, our drivers will help you go door through door. So if you want help leaving home, sometimes our drivers will make sure that the cat is fed or a little chores are done and you're ready to go on to your next destination. We'll help you onto the vehicle, get you secured on up there, and then we'll actually help you get through the door to your destination, whether it's a doctor's appointment or a restaurant. Wherever you're going, we're able to help you get there safely and securely in whatever way that you want. Next slide, please. We do have a new service. Very excited about this, food delivery. This is a service that we started in about a year ago, really. We're partnering with several different other agencies to help get free food to some of our clients. We have a great partnership with Boulder County Farmers Markets, where we're helping to deliver food not just for older adults, but also WIC recipients and other low-income households. We are working with the farmers markets to expand their program, providing free food for older adults and people with disabilities. We have limited availability in that right now, but in this summer, I'm feeling very good about our funding opportunities, and we're hoping to really expand that. In the meantime, we also do free delivery. For example, if you have a pickup order at King Soopers or another grocery store, we will go and pick that up and bring it home to you at no charge. Really quite flexible on this, so always just give us a call if you have a question. How can I get my food? And we'll help you with that. Please go on to the next slide. Travel training. Travel training really took a dip during the pandemic last year, but we are starting to open this back up again. So our travel training program is a great program because should anyone want to feel more confident in using RTD or other forms of public transportation, our trained trainers will help you make that a possibility. It's one-on-one support, so the client works directly with one of our trainers to come up with specific routes that you would take to get to your job, to get to a grocery store, wherever it is you're trying to go. They will shadow the client, so that way we are like, we're your little safety guardian, making sure that once you're ready to travel on your own, you really are able to do it. And just in case, we're there for support. And that's really a fun program because it really is a lot of helping people get to jobs, although we will help you get wherever you're trying to go. So next slide, please. Now, our mobility options or information and referral program, that is a program where we can help with really a lot of different things. If you call us up, we can help you get scheduled for our transportation or travel training programs. We can do things like help guide you to have the talk for giving up car keys with an older parent, for example. We can help you get in touch with our partners, whether it's Meals on Wheels, or really any other complimentary human services organization in the area will help direct you to the right place if you ever have any questions. Next slide, please. Yes, I wanted to show the VIA website. So Carol, I can absolutely share here if that's okay. I wanted to just show you our site so you can figure out how to get in touch with all of our services. Thanks. So I'm going to share. Oops, share. Oh, there we are. Okay. This is our VIA website, and this is viacolorado.org. I'll put the link into the chat after I finish showing you this. So this is our main place where you can find anything about VIA. I want you to notice right at the top, we have our phone number to call up a mobility specialist and ask any questions that you have about what your options are. Also, we have our website readily available in Spanish, if that is something that is of help. And of course, on our homepage, you can see our services here, but right away there's a button. If you need a ride, you can get registered today. You just click Get Started. And it has a little more information about how to sign up for a ride or how to get mobility options or sign up for a travel training service. So I really recommend that you check out our site. And my favorite part is the news and events section, where you can go and read all about the cool happenings at VIA. So this is an article about one of our clients. We have articles about our expansions, like we're getting into the Dacono area. We are in Evergreen. We have lots of information about our electricity program. So we operate a lot of vehicles, including the HOP public transit buses, which we have 4 fully electric buses on that route. And we're working on expanding that so that we just have full solar powered, battery powered buses. And in the future, hopefully our whole accessible fleet as well. And finally, I'd like to show you our VIA transportation page, because when you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you have this very cool map that shows our service area, which is it's quite large. We have recently expanded from Adams County, Arapahoe County, Boulder County, Jefferson County, now into Denver County. And we also service parts of Larimer County, being Estes Park, and Weld County. So we really have quite a large, expansive service area that is constantly growing. And we do occasionally have opportunities to travel outside of our service area as well. We make every effort that we can to get you to where you want to go. And so if you ever have any questions, or you think, maybe my request can't be accommodated, just give us a call and we will figure out how we can help you. So thank you, everybody. I will put in our link, like I said, in the chat, and happy to take questions later.
Thank you so much, Zoe. And thank you everyone who presented today. And now we do have some time. If you do have any questions for any of our presenters, feel free to either post them in the chat box or just come off of mute and ask them live.
Patrick, I want to point out that we did have a question earlier in the chat about the food delivery service from RTD, because Larry did say that it was free food delivery, but he didn't mean the food was free. He just meant that the delivery was free. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that.
I appreciate that.
All right. Well, if we don't have any questions, if you,
Patrick,
yes,
I have a question.
yeah, yeah.
For VIA, this is Carol. And so you showed the map of your service areas. So would food delivery be available throughout your service area or?
Yes, great question, Carol. Thanks for asking. Yes, so food delivery is available everywhere. The kinds of food delivery change depending on what we have available. So, for example, we can pick up anyone's grocery order at a King Soopers or other sort of grocery store like that anywhere in our service area. Now, our free food programs, those are often in part, well, 100% in partnership with other organizations that provide the food, of which we have a strong partnership right now with Boulder County Farmers Markets. So that particular option is just in Boulder County. We are working to expand that to make more free or very accessibly priced food available in all service areas. So that's definitely something we're open to. If we have clients request, services that we aren't currently providing, we'll work our hardest to make it possible.
Then we have a question in the chat box. Whitney would like for Dispatch Health to give us some more information about all of the payment options available.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for the question, Whitney. I put a link in the chat, which will take you to our Denver page of dispatchhealth.com. I'm happy to copy paste all of the insurances we accept right in the chat. I just don't want to crowd it out too much, but I can go ahead and do that as well. That might be easier than me verbally going through them.
Sure, I can look that link up if that looks easy enough. And I saw that you already said Medicaid is accepted.
Yep, sure is.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Yeah,
I have another question too, for Zoe, actually. Hi, Zoe. I'm thinking about the travel training program. Is that currently happening?
Yes.
Okay, and then is it only one-on-one trainings? I'm asking because here's where I'm coming from is I coordinate programs for the city of Boulder, and pre-pandemic we had day trips, and sometimes we would do we had scheduled like travel trainings for groups in the past. So where are you in that?
Yes, great question. Yes, we do also offer group travel training for classes of people.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I'm not sure if we are currently doing group trainings, just because I'm not sure what the restrictions are on that currently. Yeah. Although we do hope to go back to normal as soon as possible.
Right.
But if you wanted to schedule
normal yet either.
Right. If you did want to schedule a group trip, then you would just call our same number. I'll put that in the chat too, and we'll figure out, our mobility specialists will figure out a date that would work.
Okay, or just to see where everybody's at with what restrictions have been lifted or not. Okay, thanks.
Absolutely.
So depending on what your needs are, Whitney, DRMAC has a virtual travel training program. So if just reach out to us if you're interested in finding out more about that.
Thank you. That's great.
Patrick, I did put the link to the SurveyMonkey back in the chat again, if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, thank you. So if you do have a chance before you head out today, Kate just posted the link to the survey for the fair again in the chat. We also have this handy dandy little QR code if that's something a little bit easier for you to use on the screen. And the survey will only take a couple of minutes if you have some time. And if we don't have any more questions, feel free to cut me off if you do. But just remember that tomorrow and Wednesday we are continuing the fair. Tomorrow we will be have presenters on creative engagement, and Wednesday will be discussions on divergent views on transportation. So feel free to come the rest of the days. It's the same Zoom link. And then just a reminder that our next Dr. Mac meeting will be Tuesday, May 4th at 1:30 as well, and it'll be on legislative review. So if we don't have anything else, I just want to thank everyone for coming today, and hopefully we see you later this week or at our next meeting. Thank you.
Patrick, how does one attend that legislative review meeting? I don't know that I'm on a email list for that, or can any of us attend that?
I'm going to put my email in the chat.
Thanks.